Episode 185 Above Ground Podcast.
I am above.
Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Will Foley and TPP, are not medical professionals, and this is not medical advice. Both Will and TPP have first-hand experience with mental illness. They have their own perspective and own thoughts on mental health challenges. Above Ground Podcast was birthed to help those who struggle with their mental health through honest dialogue. By speaking openly and sharing tools, they foster connection. By fostering connection, they convey hope. With connection and hope, we can continue to increase awareness. These conversations aim to break down the walls while building stronger foundations for positive mental health. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Coming at you live with real conversations about mental health from the perspective. It's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now your hosts, TPP and Will Foley. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast, because you can't serve below.
Oh, that's right. No, you cannot. Wow, I can't believe it, man. We just got through Christmas. Thank friggin' God that's over. And then, now we're on the verge of knocking on the door of 2023, TPP. Where did it all go, man?
2023 for TPP.
I like it.
Never underestimate the power of you.
That's right. Never underestimate the power of you. And when you never underestimate the power of you, you get to stay
above.
That's right, man. Wow. Oh, dude, when you told me about this episode idea and then I listened to this track. So for anybody who is new to this show, we are huge music fans, and we are, every episode has some sort of like title-wise or something to do with music, and we are heavy music fans, and In Flames happens to be a really, really big go-to for both of us, especially because of their lyrics, man. So this episode is actually inspired by their song I Am Above, which kind of makes a lot of sense for us, man. From their album I the Mask.
It does make a lot of sense for us, especially this, the new year knocking on the door, and just people try to kind of tidy up, clean up your mental mess.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm too tired to reload. But it's been a little bit of a reprieve. I've had one long weekend because of the holiday, and now the next long weekend is coming, and I'm trying to gear up for the new year. The new year brings a lot of new changes for me. It does for everybody.
Yes, it does. It does. What is there anything that the new year is going to? Are you looking forward to from the new year?
I'm looking forward to new spaces, new places, new faces. It's time for a lot of new things this year, and there's a lot of changes coming in the upcoming months, and the holiday kind of brought the start of the end to a very long chapter of my life that I wasn't ready for it to end, but it wasn't all my choice, and it wasn't necessarily, I'm not saying that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a great thing either, so it's kind of a bittersweet reality check.
Check, there you go.
Well, we've talked about cycles, man. We talk about cycles all the time, and we talked about this before. Like I said that I wanted to learn everything I needed to learn. Whatever the universe was going to throw at me, please let me clean it up now, because I need to get to that next level, whatever that next level is. And when you ask for those things, well, guess what? You don't get to choose how much comes at you, what comes at you, or what lessons you get to learn.
Yeah. It's that healing is a dirty job, so to speak. And I think, just by which we've talked about before, just by being able to wake up tomorrow and the next day and stay above and say to yourself that I'm going to get back in the ring is pretty powerful, I think. It can, depending on what side you're looking at, you can look at it and be like, well, another, dragging your ass out and getting, kind of lifting your leg over and getting back into the ring. But it's like, you know what? You're here, get in the ring and do what you can do.
Absolutely.
But I think trying to be grateful of that fact that you are above is something that we should try to practice.
I agree. Gratefulness is a huge thing, man. And I didn't realize how powerful being grateful for just being able to wake up in the morning and face the day. Like I realize the day is not always going to be sunshine and lollipops, but it is sometimes it's raindrops and a windstorm, but there's something I'm grateful for the opportunity to get back out and do it all over again. I really have integrated a lot of things that I have learned over the last 50 years of my life. The 50 go-arounds of the sun so far has taught me a lot. And I don't think I wouldn't change anything, because if I changed anything, it would all change everything. And that doesn't necessarily mean it would change for the better.
Right.
And I wouldn't be who I am. You wouldn't be who you
right.
were, and we wouldn't be sitting here.
No. So I think I would have to use the word acceptance. I think acceptance of what is or what was can be a little bit of a push.
Yeah, acceptance is a big part of it. You have to accept. It's not an easy practice to have.
No, it's not. But it's let me just say this too: acceptance isn't necessarily agreeing to what is or what happened. It's not saying like I wanted this, but it's just saying that accepting it for what it is. This is what it, this is what I have in front of me. This is what I'm holding in my hand right now. You can take your thoughts of what you wish you were holding or what you thought you'd be holding or what you should be holding, but that's just going to add more anchors to your ankles. And then you're going to be starting to walk a little bit slower and slower and slower. And you're going to get more tired and tired and tired, which is just going to end up contributing to your whole overall wellness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going into the new year, and it's been quite the year. We've seen some really high highs and some really low lows this year for both of us. And what is something that you've learned, man, from your journey? You've been able to, like, you got to put a lot of stuff down in that book of yours. And
yeah,
what is some of the stuff that, like, what is something that you've learned that you didn't expect to learn this year?
I don't know if it's things that, like, necessarily new things that I've learned as much as it is kind of things that I knew that needed to be reiterated and kind of kicked into my brain just so I don't forget.
Did you integrate some stuff, did you?
Yeah, I mean, there comes a time you write, I like journaling, so I like writing stuff down, and whether it makes sense or not, I can kind of, if I write enough stuff down and go back and read it over and maybe kind of piece some of it together, I can further connect dots, which will, lead me to some new understanding, possibly a new level, perhaps.
Yeah, you connecting some stars to make some constellations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we mapped it out a long, long time ago, was connecting those stars to make those.
Right.
That's cool, man. Good for you.
I mean, you know, there's days that I don't do it. There's days that I lose touch with it, and I haven't written anything in a while, and that's, I think, you know, to me, it's a for my own personal, it's a sign that I'm slipping a little bit, maybe closer to the edge than I want to be. So it's a matter of kind of stopping, reassessing, and creating space to write stuff down, or to, you know, make some new designs or whatever it is. You know, I think, which we had talked about not that long ago, was having something to look forward to.
Oh, yeah. Having something to look forward to is very important. And it doesn't matter if it's even just looking forward to a shower.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like,
but just something. I mean, you know, you can get into that, again, cycle.
Yeah,
you
well,
know what I mean?
everything is cycles.
If you're walking around with shit tinted glasses and all you're seeing is the negatives and the unhelpful things, sometimes it's hard to see anything else, or it's hard to be grateful for the little things of, you know, like you said, look forward to like a shower or a night off or something like that. But it, you know, I think if you can get into the routine of doing that, it can turn into a practice.
Yeah, it's about the practice. One thing I am starting to put back together is a practice. I was really struggling. I've been really struggling this last couple of months just with exhaustion. I've been tired, and I haven't been getting up in the morning like I normally used to do. But I started a new practice for myself where, whether it's whether it's home before I leave to go to work, or whether it's when I get to work like 10 minutes early, I set my phone for 5 minutes and I do a standing meditation just to ground myself.
Perfect.
Just to ground myself, because I've realized, especially when it comes to this kind of work, that it is exhausting, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting because you're not just dealing with emotions, and you're dealing with all kinds of energy. And I'm hoping in the future we have another Reiki person on, which I think we will, but we haven't had a complete confirmation yet, but I think we'll get that soon. But we both recently had some Reiki this past year from the same person, and she actually taught me a practice that I literally I gotta start using, because I call it armoring up. And that's where you just kind of armor yourself up with your energy bubble, and you just kind of block out everybody. Because for me, I absorb everything around me. I am a sponge when it comes to people's energy. And especially now with what I'm doing, I absorb it all, because it's like I want to help, and I want to be there, and I want that energy, but I don't know how to displace it when it's done. Like, I don't know how to get rid of it.
So do you armor up specifically for work and then come home and undo it all? Or?
To be honest with you, I kind of haven't been doing it, and I noticed
the
it.
difference?
Yeah, I
really?
noticed the difference. Yeah, and when I've been sleeping like right until I gotta get up and get ready and head out the door like within half an hour, because I've been so tired. Just tired, man. And I'm, you know, and I haven't really been. I just had a physical. I'm doing well. My cholesterol's down. My weight is down. Like
Nice.
So physically, I'm doing pretty good. It's always the mental stuff that I struggle with. I always have, and it's, you know, it does get tiring. And I'm sure people that listen to us are probably like, damn, are you ever going to get over this? But again, when you have a mental illness, like when you have a legitimate mental illness, it's really hard you cycle through all the time, man.
I like to think that some of the people listening actually understand it.
Oh yeah, they do, but I'm sure there's other people out there that are like,
I mean, you know, we have episodes that are more uplifting and you know, empowering. It's just lately, you know, and I think unfortunately, the both of us are kind of riding at the same time.
Yeah, we're sitting on opposite sides of the aisle on the same struggle bus lately.
Yeah,
It seems.
yeah.
And nobody seems to be pulling the stop, man.
It's a ghost train or something. I don't know. Lost at sea.
You turn around and the driver's just a skeleton.
Yeah, exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I was just gonna ask you something, and I kind of got sidetracked. Was there something for you that sticks out that you have learned? That
I have. I've actually learned that. I've been saying this lately, and I've used this in my work and everywhere, that for the first time in my life, and I mean, fuck, I'm gonna be 51 in another few months. For the first time in my life, I actually love myself. Like, nice. I've really, like, I mean it. Like, I've really started to realize that I've been carrying a lot of stuff that's not really mine to carry, and I need to let go of some stuff. And the stuff, now granted, all that stuff is important.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It makes you who you are.
Yeah. It's not saying it's not important. I don't think you're saying that. I think it's just, let's say this, if, a space shuttle, okay, they got the rocket boosters, the rocket boosters are going, and then they get to a certain point. Those
That's
rocket
right, and they
boosters,
drop.
Right. They got you to that point.
Yep.
Right now, you know what? The rocket boosters are just there. They're not bad. They're not good. They're just there, and they served its purpose, and now it's time to let go of them.
That's right. And that's like anything. Those are those anchors.
Right.
We have good anchors.
Right.
And we have negative anchors. That's the yin and yang about the anchor. That's what we love about. If you go back to our episode about anchors, anchor, that's what we talk about, is that there's certain anchors that you have to let go of in order for you to sail your ship into a new port, man. And then you set a new anchor, and you put your anchor down in a new place, and that brings new things. And change has always been very difficult for me. It is for a lot of people. However, for the first time in my life, I think I'm actually looking forward to some change. I know it's going to be very, very difficult. It's been hard to live in my reality right now the way it is.
The one thing that, you can kind of, with change, the way I see it is you can kind of, it's almost like a fresh start where you can kind of create these, where you're at now, and create new healthy habits and say, this is how I'm going to start, once I, boom, bam, bang, like a lot of people use New Year's for it,
Absolutely.
Like that's their New Year's resolution, and then they start, and that's, you just have to continue on, and if you start a healthy habit, just create it, start it, practice it, and it's sooner or later it's going to become easier and less invasive, I think.
Yeah, and that's why, gym memberships get sold, and then by the third week of January,
people are like, screw that.
Yeah, I'm not going
go back to the Oreos.
Yeah, but it's easy to go back to the Oreos.
Sure it is. It's easy to go back to your unhealthy habits.
Absolutely it is, because it's very, very easy to start unhealthy habits. It's very hard to start good habits, and it's hard to make them stick.
But here's one thing that this is my personal opinion, I feel very strongly about, is you have one up, because as you just said, you are finding that you are in that I'm loving myself, and you're in that I love who I am, So if you have that, I think that is one of those solid, positive, helpful anchors that will help you to not go back to, you know what I mean? I think that's a solid foundation, where if you have a cracked foundation, it becomes easier to go slip and go to the other side, But if you have a solid foundation, you're like, you know what? I love myself enough to where A, I'm not going to put up with this, or B, I'm setting this boundary, or C, this is my life. You don't have to understand it, right? You don't have, but this is how I feel. This is my feelings. My feelings aren't negotiable. Just like my worth, it's not negotiable. You can sit here and try to negotiate with me, but it's a waste of time, because I know what I am, I know what I'm doing, and that's all that matters. You don't have to understand my journey. That's it.
Yeah, I agree, and it's difficult to understand other people's points of view sometimes about those things. But on the other hand, it's it's.
Do you think
it's
part of a two-way street though? Like understanding, like, because let's say that like you're doing something and somebody doesn't understand it. Like, is it all on you to help them understand, or to help communicate it to them?
No, it's not. Like, there's been a lot of talk about, like, when it comes to language and how we look at people, and it's not the other person's job to teach you who they are. You have to hear who they are and accept it, and it's not their job to tell you about their culture. If you're interested, you should learn. And if you work with people, you should genuinely be interested in other people and where they come from. And it doesn't matter if you agree with where they come from.
Right.
You still got to work with them. And there's always something that we can find that can bring us together. Yeah. I mean, like, for us, a lot of it is, we gravitate towards music. So most people like music. I've met a lot of people recently who don't like music for many reasons. Some of them are just sensory stuff, that music sometimes is a little bit much for people because of different illnesses or whatever they're dealing with. And then other people just don't get it. But that's okay, because there's probably something else that they have that you can gravitate
There's
towards.
something that
there's always something you can find.
Yeah.
There's always a common denominator. You know what I mean? There's always a common denominator, if you ask enough of the right questions, you can get to it. And it's not, it's about kind of like shelving your judgment for a minute and saying, okay,
I think
I can see that point of view because, well, there's no reason why it shouldn't be that way when you look at this or you look at that.
Right. Yeah. I like, one of the things that I like to talk about is a reference point. It's like, if you know what I mean? Like, you could look at me and be like, oh, he's gruff or he's this, but at the same time, like, hey, if you are interested, we can talk a little bit more and I can tell you my reference point, where I'm coming from. Then you go, okay, I can see that, It may not be a helpful thing, but I can understand why you do this or do that because of this.
I heard something recently from someone about, I've been trying to change my approach in the morning to saying good morning to people, because not everybody has a good morning. And I don't even have a good morning when I say it sometimes. And I wonder sometimes if it's just habit, if it's just like, but that sort of reference point of me wanting to explore that to me is an opening for me to say, okay, well, obviously, because language is really important. And words really do.
What about have a good morning, or is that not?
Well, when you're greeting somebody, I don't know if linguistically that would be correct.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, like, maybe it's just as simple as saying hi, but and unfortunately, like, I've realized too that there's a lot of like linguistic habits that I have that are not even when I look at it myself, I'm like, well, why the fuck would I even say that? It doesn't make sense. But, that's just me learning and being able to change and grow. Because yes, change is difficult. But as we know, nothing that is ever good is easy in the beginning.
Right.
It's just not, man. Kids don't come out grown. Like, birth is a very, very painful, bloody thing, and everything is birthed through pain. Like, there's no birthing and rebirth without pain. There's just not. It's part of the process. You have to go through that, and you have to trust the process. And I couldn't trust the process for the very longest time, and now I'm kind of like, well, I can't do anything, so I gotta just go with it, man.
To the point where I was just gonna say that
you get to the point where you gotta stop fighting it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I don't. It's weird because I'd like to actually like be on like some study group to like find out, like watch kids as they grow, different ages, and figure out where that like gets integrated almost. You know, and because like you said, I don't know if as a kid do you have that?
No, I don't know, because I don't think that. I think as I watch mine grow, kids aren't meant to think like adults. And, and their brain's not fully developed enough to understand nuance until, like, you don't understand a lot of nuances until you hit, like, after puberty. Mm-hmm. And then, unfortunately, that's the change that throws everybody for the biggest loop, because if you have, say you have a mental illness like schizophrenia in your family, it's usually hitting in that age, in that beginning. Like if
everything's hitting at once.
Everything's hitting at once. And I think that we forget that. And to expect a teenager to understand everything the way we do and know that there's the consequences that we expect them to know. And again, like, I'm not saying that you excuse every behavior, because there's a lot of behaviors that are not excusable. However, you also have to realize that these are teaching moments, and I don't think anybody is not reachable. It's them that has to, at a certain point, take the reins.
Sure.
Because like I said, I can't do your push-ups for you.
Right.
So
I do think
and it's nature and nurture.
I think it's also a way of kind of the birth of this episode is, in my head, was to talk about, it's not necessarily, if you care about someone, you want to help somebody, it's more, it can be more logical of you just saying, hey, what do you need in this moment? Instead of saying, you need to do this, and you need to do this. You should be this.
Yes.
That's not helpful, I don't think, for anybody.
No, but I think in our reactive world that we live in, and I'm not talking culturally, I'm talking just in the day-to-day. Like, especially when it comes to teenagers and stuff, it's a lot about, you think that everybody that's older thinks they know better. And I don't necessarily think that's true, because, again, if you haven't dealt with your own issues, how are you going to deal with somebody else's issues and actually have an accurate reference point?
Right.
Because your reference point is distorted. Like, how do you undistort a reference point that is distorted? I don't think you can. And I mean, you can eventually,
right?
But you can't then.
No, it's not going to be dealt with in one conversation.
No, and it can't be dealt with, like, and again, these are things that we learn, but we don't learn them until much later, and that's why we as grown-ups, like, really do need to take care of our own shit, because we can't be conscious parents, we can't be even present if we don't clean up the feedback, man. Like, you can't have a clear track if you don't get rid of the distortion.
Right.
And that distortion is what causes the discrepancies
problems
that we have and the distances that we have.
Yeah. And sometimes it's, sometimes you have to check other avenues. Is it the cord? Is it the plug? Is it the jack? Is it the knob?
Sure. There's a lot of factors in there. But again, where the factors that start is, Gandhi said, be the change, right? So it's all about changing yourself.
Right.
You're not going to change if everybody changed themselves. And sometimes I wonder if that's accurate too, because I'm watching society, and I'm like, I see people that get caught up in their own, I'll call it, for better lack of a term, Christianism, where they're toting the Bible and they're spitting out Bible verses, but yet you're spewing out hate about this one and that one, and it's like
just talking about that,
and they're justifying it by throwing whatever evidence they want to throw at you. And again, this is part of this truth thing where we don't really have now. we've had so many people distort the truth,
Right.
or what we used to view as global truths. Now people have distorted them so much and co-opted them for their own thing, that we don't even have an established truth anymore, that everybody's just standing up and saying, well, I know the truth. No, you don't.
Right.
Because that's what I've learned in my years.
I actually
that I don't
said
know.
something very similar to that in the book.
I don't know enough. I didn't know enough about myself to even know what truth could be until recently, and I still don't know. Like,
Well,
that's the
and,
more
you know,
I
and
get
at some
older, I know
point-
less than I thought I knew.
And at some point, you know, you have to kind of say, you know, this, you know, depending on obviously what it is. If we're talking mental health, like your experiences right now, like this is my truth. Okay, well, that's fair, and just instead of like it's like religion, like whatever it is, just do what you do. That's fine, but don't push it and expect other people to conform to what you want them to.
Well, forcing someone to conform is not going to transform. You need to transform, not conform.
Right.
And the only transformation that can truly happen is you doing the work of saying, why do I think this? Is this thing really serving me? Is this a thought that I really want to continue? Is this a paradigm I really want to continue to push? Because again, like, and that's the battle that I think that esoterically we fight, is that, you know, there's this battle, but the problem is that we've separated it into good and evil. And that's a problem, because we're told that the answer is outside of us.
Right.
It's not, it's us. Okay? It's us. We are the answer. The answer's not outside of you.
Right.
Nobody died anywhere to bring you to redemption. You have to go there.
Right.
Okay? I'm sorry. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it just drives me insane.
But, you know, at the same token, if they want to believe what they believe and it helps them transform, then great. You know, but if you're, you know, trying to push it on somebody or make them conform to the ways that you are or that you want them to be, that's way more hurtful than helpful.
It can be, and it usually is. It usually is, at least in my guesstimation. But
so it can be as simple as, you know, what do you need in this moment? You know, what can I do in this moment for you?
You know, how can I help?
How can I help?
Is there a way to help?
Is there a way to help?
Is there a way to help? And sometimes maybe there isn't. Sometimes, you know, I think at the heart of it, most people want to help.
Sure,
in some way.
Yeah.
Some way, as long as they don't have to be responsible for a lot of things. Because I really do truly believe that. We had a conversation this year with Judy Miriam.
Yeah,
and she had mentioned that, you know, people don't always know what to say. And I get that. But I also think that people really don't give a shit about helping because they're afraid that they're going to get stuck. And they don't know what to do. It's not a matter of even not knowing what to do. It's a matter of not wanting to do anything because...
Could be. I do think a lot of people don't know what to do. And
I don't think that they do all the time.
I mean, I had a funeral recently, and it's like you think of these things, we talk about them, but you get there and you don't really know what to say to somebody, and it's like you end up saying, "How you doing?" And it's like, did I say the right thing?
How do you think I'm doing?
Exactly.
Right.
But that's what came out in the moment, and I walked away, and I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, I probably could have said something better or whatever, but I gave the person a hug and just walked by and, you know, did what I could in the moment. So
sometimes just being there is important.
Yeah, that's what I feel like too, you know. So there's other variables to it, you know, but I think it's best said if you can't really do anything for somebody, don't do any harm.
It's about doing no harm. However, I think by trying to constantly do something, you can do more harm than good too. Because there's that other side of that.
Good point.
And that it's because again, like this is all about balance. Like you kind of got to know what you don't know, and then, you know, build on what you do know to learn about not knowing what you don't know.
And actually, I'm just thinking of this right now. Is you had asked me if there was something that I learned, and I think that just brought some light onto something. Was the power of listening, I think, is something that I've learned, through what we do with the amazing people that we've met and talked with, but also with myself and what I need. Sometimes, like you said, like people want to help, and it's like, you know what? I just need you to sit here and just, even if I'm ranting something stupid and I'm being negative, let me get it out. Let me vomit on the floor. I'll clean it up, but just let me do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
I like that. And sometimes, sometimes I'll make sounds and people ask me what's wrong or whatever. And it's just like, I don't want to talk about what's wrong. I already know what's wrong. I just want to just be on my, I just want to be in my own little, I just want to be in my own little island and just be like, I just want to sit here with it, man. I'm not trying to get anything
I can
from
see
it.
Will's face looking just like in his head. I know what's wrong.
Yeah, I already know what's wrong with me. It's just that I just need somebody to not feel like they have to help, man.
That's a great point, man.
It is, man. You don't always, and I run into this too, man, because I always feel like I want to help.
Right.
Because
you do. You want
because
to.
you do want to help,
and there's
but
something inside of you that really truly wants to help, which is great. But again, I'm just trying to, like, sometimes being mindful of realizing that this is very individualistic and saying, stop yourself and just, hey, what do you need right now from me? Like, what can I do in this moment?
Well, that's actually a good way to kind of start wrapping this up, because it is the new year, man. So one of the things that we want you to take from this episode into the new year with you is to be more mindful. Be more mindful of your needs. Be more mindful of other people's needs. Listen. It's not hard to listen, but it is hard to listen and not respond or react. Because I think true listening is response, and just listening to make sure you have something to say afterwards is reacting. And being mindful is a practice in and of itself that
Sure.
you can take every day, and you can learn a little bit more every day. And not all of us are blessed enough to do the kind of work that I do every day, where you get to watch this in real time and actually keep building on your skills. But you can always build on your skills while you're out there, because that's the real test, man. The Petri dish is in the real world. It's in real time, as Timmy likes to laugh when I say this year.
It is real time.
It is real time. And real time is the end of 2022 is here, and it's been a great year. We've had an awesome year. We are looking forward to 2023. And it's going to be just more growth, man. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to growth.
Yeah, more growth, more of what we do, more Stomping Stigma, more conversations, more in depth, more amazing interviews. One thing I do want to mention right now is something that just popped up recently that's new. If you are in the 518, there's a place called the Sages Circle in Glenville. 443 Saratoga Road, Glenville, New York. We are doing a mental health meetup Sunday, January 8 at 1 p.m. at the Sages Circle. So if you are in the 518 and you're interested, check it out. You can check out their page. We'll have posts about it, so you can inquire through Instagram or whatever. Email us at abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely. We're also working on something for the Lunar New Year.
Oh, yes.
I don't have all the details yet, but
the
22nd of January
we will,
is
we have some
really cool stuff going on at Table for One in Cohoes, New York. There's going to be a sound bath that is done by none other than the voice of our disclaimer.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And I'm going to play some music, and we'll be there talking about mental health, and it'll be a great way to kick off the Lunar New Year, man, and spread some positive energy and vibes to go into 2023 with, because I've been doing a lot of online tarot stuff.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Every day I get this.
Yeah?
I get this reading. I get to pick one card. It's free. It was easy. So, but I every day, like the email comes and I click on a card and I kind of just, and I've really taken a lot of that stuff. I really
Cool.
want to go, like 2023 is the year I go have some readings done. I don't know who I'm going to go to because I need to be drawn to that person.
And there is a gentleman at the Sages Circle that does that too. So that's an option.
So yeah, I'm there's a lot of spiritual stuff going on in my world right now that
It's not a
I'm
bad
working
thing.
on. No, it's not, man. No, it's not.
I think it could be that street sign. New growth.
Yeah, you got to follow the signs. You got to follow the signs.
Forge ahead.
Absolutely.
You think you should forge ahead even if you don't have a sign?
Yeah, well, you got to forge ahead. You got to move ahead. You got to keep going. Even if you have to pull over to the side of the road, man, change a tire. Okay? Pull over the side of the road, change the tire, regroup, sit for a few minutes. If you don't feel like pulling right back out into traffic, just take your time. Take your time. But keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Don't move backward, because backward isn't gonna get you anything. If you're gonna look backward, look for the lessons. Take the wisdom forward. Because take the wisdom forward, integrate it.
Insight to look back. You can
Absolutely.
look back, but don't move back.
That's right. You can look back, but you don't move back. And that's a good way to wrap up the year, man. You can look back, but don't move back. So until 2023, from TPP and me, get well.
Be safe.
Stay
above. Thank you for giving us a listen. New episodes every Wednesday. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can share, rate, review, and even subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Other ways to support the show: follow us on social media, share the content, share our episodes. You can also buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/abovegroundpod. For further concerns, show ideas, or just to say hi, you can email us at abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening and supporting mental health. Keep the conversation going and stay above.